The final area of Japan we visited on our trip was Kyoto. Throughout the month of July, Kyoto celebrates the Gion Matsuri, which is a Shinto religious festival. Lots of different things happen throughout the whole month, but what it is most known for is these processions. It happens twice in the month, and we were lucky to be there for the very first one. The floats are made by local groups. They are mostly wooden with lots of details on them. They are pulled along by big groups of men who are all in traditional dress, so that was very cool to see. After the procession, we headed to the Gion district and walked around. To respect the local area and those that work there, you can't take a lot of photos, but we did head to Ninsaka where we took these photos, and they have a traditional Starbucks and you see all the old traditional buildings. It is quite hilly and there are sections that you can only get to via stairs, but I enjoyed the atmosphere. I just hung out while my parents went and explored a bit further. What is quite fun about this area is that a lot of people go to the kimono rentals and get dressed up to take some really pretty photos. I did look into doing kimono rental myself, but a lot of them weren't wheelchair accessible, so decided not to do it. We were staying near the Kyoto Tower and we really enjoyed the food court inside. On our second day, we travelled out to the bamboo forest. This is something that I would probably not go to again. Whilst you can get some cool looking photos, there wasn't a whole lot to it, and it was quite far out from other places that we were going to. This far out, we found there wasn't as much transport, so not as many train stations, so we were having to walk a lot. At one point, we were just walking through a local village and it was really pretty. Next up, we went to Ryoanji. This temple is famous for its Zen rock garden. Whilst they have an accessible route up to the temple, they do let you know in advance that you have to be able to walk to go inside the temple, as you do have to do steps up and down. There is an additional garden surrounding the temple, but you do have to do steps up and down to go throughout any of it. Nearby, we also visited Kinkaku-Ji temple, also known as the Golden Temple. If you're in a wheelchair, you can pretty much just do the little bit around the water, but they did give me a discount, and this is the only time that I did receive a discount for being in a wheelchair. It was great to be able to see the Golden Temple itself, and that's what we were really there for anyway.
Looks like they've been sending that football. I wonder what they gave up.
One afternoon we went to the Kyoto Imperial Palace. This was a completely free attraction to go to. We also found that it wasn't overly populated with tourists, so we could look around at our own pace. It is predominantly on gravel, and they did say that I could borrow an electric wheelchair from them whilst I was there, but I was okay using my free will. Oh, it's a bird. On our final day, we headed to the Fushimi Inari shrine. As a wheelchair user, you could get as far as the Okusha shrine. There's an elevator tucked off to the side that can only be used by people with disabilities. Whilst the shrine is open 24/7, the elevator only runs at certain times. When I looked in advance, it said 9 a.m, but when we got there, it was open from 8 a.m. away. Sun's in the way. As I could only get to the lower section of the Torii gates, it was a lot busier. So that's the one thing you have to take into account, is that you're stuck going at the times that the elevators open, and it will be busy. We did find on the way down section of the Torii gates that if we waited long enough, people could clear out a little bit, and we got some nice photos. Overall, it was a really cool experience, and it's not only about the gates. You can get to some of the shrines that are just off to the side of the main gates. Whilst people were heading up the stairs further into the Torii gates, it is still quite a strenuous thing to do, as there's 10,000 gates, and it just gets steeper and steeper the higher you go. There is also a little cafe, toilets, and a shop. Our final stop of the trip was to the Kyoto Train Museum. We had taken so many different trains and trams throughout our trip that it was just fun to go and see how these all came to be, from the very early trains straight up to the bullet trains. They had lots of different merchandise that had been released over the years. You could see underneath the trains, and we also got to see how a ticket machine worked.